Okay, so Andre, you've been reading more of my book, and
Yeah,
you're up to chapter 20 and 21.
yeah.
Yeah, and
So read through chapter 20 fully, and 21 we started on.
okay,
And I know this one annoys me in the background.
which one?
There's hanging.
Oh, something hanging. uh, uh,
I just get something mental from that. I couldn't stand it.
yeah. uh, in 1984, the
Yeah,
worst punishment that anyone could get if they contravened anything against Big Brother,
yeah,
they'd put in Room 101.
yeah.
Do you remember? Have you read the book or seen the film?
Yeah, read the book. I think I read it first time when I was 19 years old, but I do remember the book
Yeah.
pretty well. But
So,
I can't
what?
remember just that.
Okay. So when John Hurt, the protagonist in the movie, um, what's the guy's name? Stanley, is it? Stanley, isn't it?
Maybe something like, yeah,
Yeah. Well, he got caught uh, contravening some of the rules and regulations. So he got put in room 101, and his fear was rats. So they put him in a head cage with rats running in it. And, that was enough to about send him crazy. So your room 101 would be something hanging on the door, then, probably.
yeah, yeah.
Something out of symmetry, something just kind of random like that just does your head in. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, it's a strange thing actually. When it's almost like it feels something inside that ain't right when it's like that. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, and so you just got to do whatever it is. Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so do you want to crack on then in chapter
yeah.
20? Do you want to read the heading first?
The heading is the very narrow path. So, and there is something there also which we have actually talked about before. A book that tells us that there is no hope of joy while having a human experience. That shit just stinks of evil if I ever heard it. I, for one, ain't buying it. Let's see what alternative there are on planet Earth, shall we? And I think I read that one last time we spoke,
Yes,
actually.
you did.
Um, and then we talked about Catholicism and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So the very narrow path. I'm speaking about the very narrow path into um, awakening, enlightenment.
the very narrow path. Yeah, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, it's kind of emphasis on a book that tells us there is no hope and joy, like the Bible, for an
Right.
instance. But
Yeah.
the very narrow path is also how it talks about God and so on, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So, um, but here is a certain thing that when we started reading it, um, there is a certain thing, but I want to read something first here, which I don't know exactly what we said about this, but I underlined it the second time just to I will remember it while I go along. This
Right.
is not that far from Plato's theory of ideas regarding ideal form as the true molds of the universe as we see it. Both Plato and Lao Tzu contemplate the same mystery, what makes things get their fixed shapes and behave according to their fixed patterns. Yeah, so uh, I think we started to talk a little bit about just that in the way that Plato he had more emphasis on like the naming of the different things and so on, while Lao Tzu talked about it in a more subjective way, but they still talked about the same thing. But Plato were more like emphasizing the certain things. So one could say that almost Lao Tzu was a scaled, more scaled down, so to
Right.
speak.
Yeah.
That was what we said about that. And then here happened a really interesting thing before we read this. We had had a little pause in between and we started to talk with each other. And I talked about my life situation and so on. I said, yeah, I might as well go up to a cop and smack in their car with a stone because if I went to prison, I would not need to deal with my economical problem because I would have a roof over my head. I would be able to train and read books and have free food for the day.
Yeah.
So I said that, and then um, uh, I also said, like, yeah, but everybody would have a certain opinion about that. But if I would feel like doing that, that would be my choice.
Mm-hmm.
And if I would feel like doing that, that would be my choice. But there's and if I told such a thing to my mother, she wouldn't be able to think rationally about that. Like that's his choice, you know. But in one way, that is selfish. But for it's also selfish from the my person. If I would do that, it would be selfish toward all the others, so to
Yeah.
speak. So it goes both ways in a way.
Yes.
So and so right after that, we started because we have stopped for a while. We started to read this non non-action Wu Wei. Non-action is
Wu
one
Wei.
of them.
Wu Wei.
Yeah,
Lao Tzu's Wu Wei. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Wu
Yeah.
Wei. Non action is one of the most famous Taoist concepts, repeatedly pointed out in the Tao Te Ching, the great Taoist classic. We should not bury, we should not hurry to act since most things in the world take care of themselves if left alone. And when we act, we should do so cautiously, or we might destroy more than we solve.
Mm-hmm.
And then Nicholas said right away, like, yeah, that's kind of what we talked about there, yeah?
Yeah.
uh, because that would destroy more, maybe. As
Well, Lao Tzu apparently wrote that about 800 years AD. So let's say about 1200 years ago, when the
yeah,
world was a much more simpler place. And he was an advocate for leaving the cosmos to do its thing, for nature to do its thing, and not be intervening, not be trying to change things, not be trying to, uh, change the way the world is. Just let it be what happens, and most problems will work themselves out. So if you have a natural disaster, and it destroys everything, okay, well, it's finished, or it'll be finished at some time, and so then you build some more simple accommodation. um, no point in building something that's gonna, last, an earthquake, or something like that, for that eventuality, just to go with the flow, basically. And, all these things, they're kind of like, there's a certain philosophy to them. And if we adopt a very passive psyche, then we're never going to be pushing against the grain of anything. We're always going to be passive and go with the flow, yeah? And it's kind of like uh, jujitsu as a martial art, or Aikido. I think Aikido is a better example. Aikido, you use your opponent's body weight and momentum to their disadvantage. So if someone's coming to attack you, then you deflect and you use their body weight to put them down in some shape or form. Whereas, like other martial arts, they intend to absolutely stop the person with brute force, direct energy.
Yeah.
And so a massive amount of energy is used in the second one, and a very, very minimum is used in the first one. And if we go through life um, with the philosophy of the Aikido martial artists, then we're never going to be confronting anything, and we're going to have pretty well an easy life. And we're never going to change the world, because the world just, it kind of has a way of changing itself. The world's a big thing, and once there's a momentum in the world, then it's very, very difficult to change. For instance, if you look at hurricanes and all that sort of thing, we're never going to change the world from doing that. They just happen. And so, are we going to be making everything hurricane proof? Well, I mean, that's not practical. It's not aesthetically pleasing or beautiful. No, we're going to build gardens, and we're going to, you know, have all different sorts of lovely things like that. And every now and again, they're going to get destroyed. That's the way,
Hmm.
isn't it?
Yeah. But Dao doesn't disavow this kind of stuff to have a garden and all that, right?
Yeah,
Uh, because it could also be, yeah, like you emphasized, um, Aikido and so on. It goes very much into samurai culture and so forth also.
right.
So and Japanese culture was very into like gardening and so on. Even the samurais had their way of gardening and such things.
Yes. So I was speaking today. I was out foraging for golf balls and
Yeah.
fungi, and it started to rain torrentially. And I just leaned against a tree and put my hat on and just listened to it and watched it. And I made this video. I never uploaded it in the end, because I spoke about too many fragmented things. But I was saying that many years ago, I always had an issue with the weather. I always wanted the weather to be in a particular way, nice and sunny, because that pleased me, and you can do lots more when it's sunny. Um, but now, all the things that I used to want to do, to go places and have fun and with friends, and and all that, I don't do those things anymore. And so it doesn't matter what the weather's like, because if I go walking in the forest, Some days it's beautiful and sunny, and I enjoy that. Some days it's really, really cold and frosty, and I enjoy that. Some days it's windy and rainy, and I enjoy that. So these days, I'm in a greater level of acceptance of how the world is, and that puts me in a greater state of calmness. So that's the Wu Wei, the way of no resistance, just accepting the weather. And then I remember the Beatles song, and it was called Rain. And it says, when the rain comes, they run and hide their heads. They might as well be dead when the rain comes. When the sun shines, they slip into the shade and sip their lemonade when the sun shines. And then it says, rain or shine, it's just a state of mind.
Yes. I can relate to that with the weather as well. It's just absolutely just a state of mind. Because the last time I ever complained about the weather must be in maybe 2010, 2009. I just stopped doing it, because
I,
there was a negativity to it also.
yes, I remember you saying last time we chatted. Um, yeah, just stop doing it. The weather is the weather,
Yeah,
and if we only want one variety of weather, then all the other varieties of weather is going to cause us negativity. And so,
yes,
what's the point in creating negativity for yourself and anybody else in the world? Why not just go with the flow, be in the natural state of Wu Wei? Because when you are in that state, you're in the state of meditation, and your whole body and mind is relaxed. And so you're in the best possible position. So we do have control about this.
yes. So, yeah, and certainly when one stops this complaining about the weather, it becomes a pattern in the mind later, or by the time also that you will not feel any aversion towards it raining or it being sunny. You can enjoy it no matter what. Yeah.
Yes, and it doesn't prevent you from walking in the woods because you're never going to say, oh, it's raining, I'm not going. No, because walking in the woods when it's raining is a beautiful experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you apply that mentality to everything in life, then you won't allow anything to bother you. And this is the whole thing about being awoken or enlightened. You don't allow all these things to spoil your spirit of complete contentment. If we want to get involved in all the things that people get involved with around the world, with politics and immigration and all the rest of that stuff, well, all we're doing is torturing ourselves if we
Yeah.
watch that stuff. If we don't watch it, then we're not going to feel the implications of it. And so, some people would say, "Well, I want to know what's going on in the world," and I would say, "Well, look, you can tune in videos about the Amazon jungle or the Sahara desert or um, the mountain range in the Himalayas. You can tune into all that stuff if you want to know a little bit of what's going on in the world. Because
Yes.
you can't say, I want to know what's going on in the world and just tune into BBC, CNN, or some bullshit like that. No, that's not knowing what's going on in the world. That's just tuning into stuff with a very, very negative vibration where you'll never, ever get any answers. And so, okay, if you want to create negative vibration within yourself, then do it. If you don't, tune into a nature program if you want to know something really about the world.
Yes. Absolutely. And I know that if we say you work, you will kind of if you're around people without even looking at media, you will know some of this bullshit other people are engaging in anyway. and you might understand, if you are inclined to understanding, that all the shit they are into is also a skewed narrative.
Yeah.
So if you want to know, you actually don't need to look up very much about the bullshit that most people are into.
Yeah. So if we simplify things and if we don't look at any of that stuff and we just get up each day and we go about our business and for instance, if people don't have to work, because I haven't had to do this for many, many years now, and so my state of being is very calm. There's no reason for me to be agitated in any shape or form. Uh, I'm conscious enough not to fear my demise, so I'm not worried about a third world war. I'm not worried about aliens coming, you know, uh, disguised as a fucking meteorite, like this recent thing. Have you been looking into that?
No, not really. I heard
Atlas.
something
Atlas.
about it.
Yeah, sort of like three eye atlas. And the scientists are saying it's acting really, really strange, and it's nothing like what a meteorite would act like. And they're saying that it could be, it could actually in fact be a spaceship. It could be something from a far distant galaxy, and this, that, and the other. And then of course, people are always like getting worried about things like that. I mean, I just don't get involved with the fear of my own personal demise, because if you don't fear your demise, then you are free of all the ramifications, on the planet. The only thing that you wouldn't be free of would be physical pain, and it's not that often that we experience physical pain. And if you look at your life and you could calculate in some shape or form the actual amount of time you spent in physical pain, it would be 0.000000000% of the time. We're actually in pain a very, very small portion. And so, why build that up? Why fear it so much when it's so fleeting in life? Why are we such afraid of these things? Why do we shy away from the natural course of the cosmos and the failings of the human body? If we just emancipate ourselves from it, then we enter into a very, very different state of consciousness.
Yes.
So I was saying today, and in the book I say it, and in many videos I've said it, one line from the Bible. If people really, really understood this line, then they would be of a similar disposition and outlook on life. Jesus is reputedly to have said, "There are many mansions in the kingdom of God," and if anybody ever gave that any consideration, if they really try to think what that could possibly mean, there are many mansions in the kingdom of God. Well, it's just simply a metaphor for there are many different states of consciousness in the kingdom of God, which is cosmic consciousness. So we have cosmic consciousness, which is the kingdom of God, but then we've got all different sorts of facets of human consciousness within. And I've spoke about a whole myriad in my book, and we've all had different states of consciousness. Some of us a whole lot more than others. But when you have entered into these other mansions, then you know what Jesus was speaking about. And you can say to yourself, well, it seems to me that I have a choice of which of these mansions I want to reside in. Do I want to reside in the fear mansion? Or do I want to reside in the freedom, the happiness mansion? And if I do, well, how do I do that? It's just a case of elimination. You see, I've always said to people whenever they are, depressed and, they think their life is shit, I said, look, it's really simple to get abreast of this. Just get two pieces of paper. And on one piece of paper, write down all the things you hate about your life. And on the other piece of paper, write down all the things that you like, or you love, or potentially you would. And then have a look at those and ask yourself, well, which life do you want to live? And if you want to live the life with happiness and joy and all that, well, just stop doing the things what's on the other sheet of paper. And some people can say, I'm not responsible for my depression, Aaron. It's hereditary in my family. Well, I don't believe that. And many, many psychiatrists don't believe that either. Uh, Lots of psychologists and philosophers, they believe that depression is self-induced because it's a state of mind. We get ourselves in a mind trap. And I know that in the past, when I have suffered from, I wouldn't even say suffer, when I've encountered levels of depression, I know that it was because the world wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. Isn't that a funny thing, Andre?
Yeah,
When the
yeah,
world doesn't do what you want it to do, your
yeah.
ego has such a problem, it then creates a massive negative response, which is depression. It sulks.
It becomes like I want this, I want this. It becomes like one is a little child, like I want this, and I'm used to getting what I want, but I don't get it this time, and then get very annoyed by that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so I look back in my life and I go, well, look, there was one occasion, this is before I went into the dark night of the soul. And I was feeling really low for about 1 year on this particular occasion. And why it was is because I was living in Bulgaria, and the bottom had fallen out of the property market. We were going into another recession, and I had one last property there which I needed to sell to give me some cash flow. And nobody was buying it, and all the people that came to Bulgaria, to build, buy property and build property and this, that, and the other, they'd all left. And it was like a ghost town. And I was just walking around and round and round, never seeing anyone that I knew before. Literally everyone had gone back to their countries. But I was stuck there because I had 70,000 euros in a property which I needed. And I had to be around, just in case someone wanted to view the property, and I had to be proactive trying to sell it. When that property was sold, then my self-imposed negativism, my depression, it lifted. And then
yeah.
I went to Africa, and I got into the same situation about a year after, when my money ran out and I needed more money to finish the building project. And I was trying to sell it in a uncompleted way, and I was just roaming around, walking, biding time, because I'd been stopped in my tracks, and so I felt very depressed then also. And so I can see clearly that whenever I'd been down in the past, it was because the world wasn't like I wanted it to be. It was all ego premised, and I fell into the dark night of the soul because of that. Because I was trying to be a millionaire, and I wanted people to do this and to do that and all this sort of stuff. And I was creating so many potential obstacles for my life. And I couldn't solve them because there's too many variables, you know?
Yes, but you in the end knew how to solve them anyway. Yeah?
Yes, now I fully know how to solve them, and it's by not getting engaged with them, not becoming a gambler. Because if, for instance, we are prospecting, like we are developing property in our own country or in another country, you're taking on much more risk because you don't know about the economy of that country. You don't know the potential of it. A new or third world country is unstable, and so there's all these variables. And I used to go to third world countries and invest in them, gambling that within a few years those markets will be much more buoyant. But then I didn't take into consideration a world economic downturn. And all of a sudden, that fucked all of my projections because my projections on paper, I was going to be a millionaire. There's no two ways about it because I'd made this investment in Bulgaria and Africa, and I was going to make a lot of money and this, that, and the other. And I did make a lot of money, but I didn't make as much as I envisioned because of these variables. But now you see, having been all around the world and done all that, now I'm just happy to walk in the rain.
Hmm. Yeah. Uh, and another thing I started to think about when coming to other countries and to poorer countries and like that. So I remember when I had booked a flight to Macedonia back in 2015, and there had just started a civil war in a certain place in Macedonia, but a civil war wasn't where I was going anyway.
Mm.
I can remember a little bit. My mother was like worried that I'm going to Macedonia when there is a breaking out war there, but I went anyway, and it was absolutely no problem. There was some kind of protest within Skopje, but nothing big, no problem at
Mm.
all. It was a great time,
Yeah.
so no worry there. Um, um, and yeah, money is a certain thing for me that I have a hard time letting go of the worry, because it has so many inclination as towards getting worse if I don't do anything here and there.
Well, I mean, your situation can't get any worse. You're on government money. It can't get any worse. They won't start paying you less. So that's stable, isn't it?
No, not really, because last I always pay my apartment bill, but for some reason it hadn't been taken or charged from the bank last time. So I got uh,
Fine.
follow up on that, and I can't pay double now either because yeah, there was some problem with my bank that I couldn't get into my bank. And always when it comes to technology, I do it fast, throw it away. I get annoyed by it, and then don't think much about it. But still, I maybe do not need to worry. But the payment shall always be in time, so to speak.
Yeah. So if we're going to be worrying about these things, then that's always going to be in our mind. We're always going to be carrying the weight of it, and we're never going to be free. Now, these days, I can honestly say, and I think well, I know for sure I've learnt to do this through all the trials, and tribulations that I've been on in my life. That the best policy if I want to win, is to not have an investment in the outcome. Sure, I can, do all different sorts of things trying to, achieve something, but I'm not investing in the outcome. Now, you see, I've been doing this therapy thing for some time, and I'm still continuing to do that. And I'm pursuing a situation whereby I'm challenging the government because they haven't satisfied me. But I can let that go any single time. And I don't have an investment whether I so called win or I so called lose, because I don't consider there is any winning and losing. It's just a trajectory I'm on, it's an experience I'm on, and either way, I'm going to learn and I'm going to busy myself learning about these institutions, which is what I like doing, and I like a challenge. And so I'm doing that, but I don't have any investment. And I'm not going to be going, oh, I wish I never did this or wish I never did that. I should have got that and I should have won and all these things. No, I just don't think about that at all. For
Yeah.
me, it's just like getting up in the morning, going to the supermarket, buying some food. And sometimes I'll buy this and sometimes I buy that. I don't start going, oh, I wish I didn't buy this or I wish I bought more of that.
Mm. Yeah, I can see that because when I think back, I don't have any regrets either. But still, in the moment, I can feel like I'm in a bit deep into the mud, but I still hold my head above the water. Uh,
Yeah.
I gone through things in the past where they had been downward, and because of I went through that, I experienced great things about because of it. Also,
Hmm.
so it gives you a little of both. Yeah.
So my point is, and what I've always been saying, and I could never get any response because I think the response is just too profound. It's just too deep, and people do not know what I'm speaking about because they have never experienced the level of emancipation that I'm speaking about. And the level of emancipation is like a Buddhist monk. When a Buddhist monk lets go of everything, and he's got no obligations, he's got no rent to pay. Maybe he has to spend some communal time working in the fields, planting their own foods and things like that, but he just does that. That's his exercise and that's his obligation. He doesn't have an issue with that, but he doesn't worry about any of the outcomes of anything he does because he lets go of everything. And this is why when we see these Buddhist monks, they are creating these mandalas and they're absolutely beautiful out of all this colored sand, right? And it takes them hours, sometimes days to do them. And then as soon as they've finished it, within an instant, they just mix it all up because they're not invested. When lots of people would say, "Oh, don't, no, 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 you should keep that. It's beautiful. You should, when you're putting this sand down, put it down on a base of glue so it stays there, and then people will pay you thousands for that." And they probably would, but that's not why they do it. You see. They do it because it's a beautiful act of creation, it's a beautiful meditation, and the whole beauty of their life is because they can let it go.
Hmm.
And so only a Buddhist would grasp that, or someone that's been very, very deep in meditation and been emancipated for some time. Because when you completely let go of all outcomes, then that's when you are free.
Hmm. I certainly think you can do that more than I. Absolutely. But I can recognize that I uh, if there are certain plans for something, and the plans don't go, minor plans. Okay, we should go to this place, but we can't go to that place because of that. Then I have a easy time letting go of it. Then I just think, yeah, but we can go to this place instead. Yeah,
Yeah,
that I can do pretty fast, and I recognize that together with friends as well. They are locked into a certain thing, but
yes,
I change it pretty fast. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Yeah.
yeah. So the vast majority of people, they create investments in everything they do. And for instance, the classic one is when you're going on holiday. Oh, I'm looking forward to my holiday, and I'm going on holiday in 4 months' time. I'm going on holiday in 3 months' time. Oh, only 2 months now to my holiday. And then, 1 week to my holiday, 6 days, 5 days, 4 days. Oh, I'm so looking forward to my holiday. And then they get on their holiday. And then the weather is bad, or the apartment isn't as good, or they have noisy neighbours, or someone steals their passport and then they spend 3 days dealing with immigration and all this, and they go, "Oh, my holiday was fucking shit." Well, why do you think that was? Because you'd built it up to be something wonderful. You'd projected something onto the cosmos that the cosmos couldn't give you. You see, because there's too
Yes.
many variables. So if you just say to yourself, I'm going on holiday, um, and you don't count the days down, and then all of a sudden it's kind of like, oh, wow, I'm going on holiday on 2 days. Well, I best start packing or this, that, and the other. And then people say, oh, you're looking forward to it. And you go, well, I don't look forward to things. What do you mean you don't look forward to things? Surely you're looking forward to going, no, I don't like to look forward. I just like to be present, because if I'm
Yeah.
looking forward, I'm trying to build something. I'm not going to
Yes.
build anything. I'm too mature. I'm too long in the tooth. I'm too experienced to be projecting my castles in the air. No, I'm just going to go somewhere and it's going to be whatever it's going to be. But the chances are, if I am present and I'm in a level of acceptance about everything, then when I come back, I'll say, I had a nice time,
Yes.
regardless of how long you had to wait in the airport because the airplane was cancelled and this, that, and the other. You know,
Yes.
because look, it's like this, and I've done 2 whole years in prison, and
Yes.
when you are locked up every single night, and you have an enormous amount of time on your own, even if you're sharing a cell with someone, it's not all the time you're talking and engaging. You're on your own. Well, you learn to let go of everything. And
Yes.
when I was in prison in Arizona, uh, people were allowed phones, and you could have people phone you up, and you could phone people who were on your phone number list. Now, the prison has to vet these people. They can't have been in prison before. They can't have a criminal record. They have to be squeaky clean. And then you can phone them up and they can phone you up. So you get people phoning people up in the prison cell. Can you imagine?
Hmm.
And that's very weird, because the first time when I was in prison, when I was 20 years old, of course, we never had mobile phones. But now everyone had a tablet, so they could get on the intranet. They couldn't get on the internet, the World Wide Web, but they could get on certain sites that the prison allowed, and you can watch movies. But you couldn't send emails to anybody. And the phone calls are all listened to. So you have to be very careful what you say. Now, why I mention this is because when I was sharing a cell with lots of people, I shared a cell, let's say 20 people, and then for the last 6 months, I was sleeping in a warehouse with like 200 little stations in it, 200 beds and your locker. It's all open though, and
Mm.
so you can see everyone and you can hear everyone, and they're on the phone and all this business. So what I knew about that is that it was a real compromising thing, because people, when they were in the prison cell, they'd have wives or girlfriends or friends, and they wanted them to do this and to do that, and not to do this and not to do that. But they found it exceedingly difficult to realize that they had zero control. And what would happen invariably, because I'd be listening to the conversations, and then the inmate would throw his phone at the wall and punch the iron door, and I'm like, dude, you don't have any control over your girlfriend, and she's making that absolutely plain to you. She's telling you you have no control. And these tough guys used to find that absolutely infuriating. Can you
Mm.
imagine the trauma they were in because they just didn't let go?
Hmm. I see.
But me, I sat there on my bunk meditating for 5 hours every single day. And when I wasn't meditating, I was doing my yoga. And when I wasn't doing my yoga, I was reading. And they could see a stillness and a level of acceptance within me. And they all felt an aura and felt a power. It's someone that's powerful that can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is how I would have treated it as well, yeah. Because I've also feel that it's very displaced to have phones in a prison in the
Yeah.
first place.
Yeah.
Why should you have that? And I also know that in the Swedish prison you have like a little television you can look at in the prison. The first thing I would do if I came to prison in Sweden is to say to the guards, "Take away that television. I don't want it in my cell."
Yeah.
And I know you can do it because I have looked it up just in case. Because if they wouldn't take away it, I would destroy it anyway.
Yes. Yes. Well, in lots of the places I went to in America, there's a very high proportion of Mexicans.
Hmm.
And so there was always Mexican channels on the TV and then English channels on another TV. And they were all full blast, the loudest they would go, because one would turn theirs up and the other would turn theirs up, the other would turn theirs up. And then so when you've got 40 men in one little communal area and you've got two televisions, Mexican and Spanish and English, and then you've got everyone screaming and shouting and talking, trying to get everyone to hear, and it's all echoey because it's all steel doors and steel tables. You can imagine the absolute horror of that din, and that traumatized me for as long as I was in. I could
Hmm.
never accustom myself to the noise.
Hmm. I
It,
get
wa-
that.
it,
Yeah.
it was the greatest thing that shocked my system, because I've been living alone before and, always at peace and everything. But then all of a sudden I was with, 50 men, and that level of noise and chaos. And it was really horrific.
Hmm.
But I took mastery over it by just going in, and I used to wear. I used to fill my ears full of wet toilet paper, and I'd really, really push it in to try to
Yeah.
block out, as much as of it as I could. And I used to wear these 24 hours a day. Never used to
Hmm.
take them out.
Yeah. That was a good choice to do. Uh, yeah, indeed. So, how did they not turn off the TV maybe in the night or?
Yeah, well, when we got locked down, you see,
Yeah,
we'd have communal time. And of
yeah,
course, in the communal time, then the TVs will be on. But then when you go back to your cells, to turn the TVs off.
yeah.
Yeah.
I see.
So, the very narrow way, then, the very narrow way is to eliminate absolutely everything.
Yeah,
Eliminate all exterior um, distractions and eliminate all interior distractions. And when you can do that, that's then when you will become still. And I've made many, many videos about this to see if anybody has found that space. And I've never had a single person tell me that they know exactly what I'm speaking about.
hmm.
And so we have to know it's really, really rare. And this is why even Jesus was mocking his disciples, his 12 apostles, because they didn't even know what he was talking about. You have to find this space yourself, and you find it through pain, suffering, trauma, and experience. You're just not going to know it by reading books and following someone.
No,
You have to have been through war, you really do. You have to have been compromised to such a level whereby you've your ego's just given up. Your ego's given up.
hmm.
Once you see, because you can't make the ego give up, Andre. The ego has to give up itself. And the only way the ego's going to give up is when it's absolutely compromised and it can't stand it anymore. Then it just implodes. And so, for people like in a time of war, let's say in the trenches, um, First World War, when the bombs are just incessantly going off and it's shooting, 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 slipping round in stinking mud and all this, and it just went on for years. Well, you'd either go mad or you'd turn off. Now, when I climbed Kilimanjaro
Yeah,
and I turned my mind off for 3.5 hours, that's what you do, only to a lesser degree, forever. You turn off the facility for your ego to compromise uh, the mind and body to anything like the degree it did before. You see, when I had my Dark Night of the Soul, the ego absolutely imploded, and I had to build a new ego. Build a new ego back. And then when I built the new ego back, I built the new improved one. I built the ego 2.0. And that ego never had the facility to traumatize me because I knew how to build it and what I needed it to do. And so in the book, I say what happened after my spiritual awakening. The ego was built back again, but it was built back again under the governance of spirit. And it knew that it was no longer master of the ship. It knew that it had a position, and its position was a useful one, but it wasn't the be all and the end, because now there was a new captain, and ego knows its place now. And so when I start thinking, or the ego starts going, oh yeah, yeah. For instance, like supercilious. The ego likes to play, and so the ego hasn't played with supercilious for several months now. And I made a video 3 or 4 months ago, something like that, saying, you know, should I retire supercilious? Because I allow him to do his thing. He's a character. He's like a cameo character. A cameo character is someone that just comes in to the scene for a few minutes, yeah, makes an entrance and then just leaves. Well, Supercilious was like a cameo character. And I asked myself collectively, spirit and ego, do I want to give him the floor anymore? Is there any benefit? And I thought, I'm indifferent about it. Let's try without him because he's been around for many years. And so now he's gone.
I see. So a thought that came to mind is lately, have you used Kratom lately?
No,
Something?
no.
No. Do you recognize that supercilious is more there, has been more there on Kratom or when on Kratom?
Well, I can't remember, to be fair, because I haven't took Kratom for like 2 years.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know, looking back, whether Supercilious was there when I was on Kratom.
I see.
But he very well may have been, because I was on Kratom for like 2 whole years or 3 whole years, and so I would have thought he would have been there. So I don't think Kratom was responsible for his demise. But you see, if we have a higher self
Yes.
which can oversee the ego, then we can diminish the power of the ego. We can delegate jobs to the ego. And now, what I do, which is spirit delegates to the ego, and it says, you take care of the operation and the running of the body for all things which are necessary. You take the body to the gym. You create whatever's pleasurable for the body and all these different sorts of things. But the ego now knows that there is spirit, which is ranked vastly higher, and it runs the show now. And so I'm not compromised by the ego anymore. And because I know that I'm not the ego, before we have the spiritual awakening, we don't know that we're anything else except the ego, you see, Andre.
Yeah.
This is the thing, because we've never been outside. We've never been introduced to spirit. But when your ego is obliterated, and then there's something there, and that something there gets more and more powerful, it's an incredible transition. It's absolutely remarkable, because when you just think that you are this, I'm Aaron Berry, and I'm a man, and I'm a businessman, and I'm this, and I'm that. Well, goodness me, there's no room for anything else. There's no room for the cosmos to start speaking to you. There's no room for the archetype of the wise old man to start speaking to you, because you're just so powerful and full of yourself. And you don't know that there's anything else. And it's only when that false self has been deconstructed, then you realize that the true self has been there all along.
Yeah, that gets me to think about, in the start, I recognized how often I tried to define myself. around 2010. How often I went into a state of defining myself. I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. So every time that came up, I tried to look at it and disassociate with it, you know.
And so now, what would you say you are? Who are you? What are you?
Yeah, it would be consciousness that I am, you know.
But you see, within consciousness, there are agencies. Who do you
But
identify with? Which one do you identify with?
I can't really find it when you put it that way, but naturally it would be like I would define it like the higher self. But still, if I define it, I define something, you know. So uh, uh, and it's always the ego that tries to define something.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm strictly defining myself as like I'm this, I'm that. You know, I'm not this ideology, I'm not this religion, I'm not. So I'm pretty emptied from that. But at certain points, there might come up something that defines myself as, yeah, I'm the guy with like. Really great physique, maybe, or something like that. I am like philosophically inclined. I um, um, this and that, but still, it doesn't uh, say what I am or who I am. It's still just defining, trying to define that which is yeah, potential,
Yeah.
maybe.
So what you just did there was you just spoke about certain facets of the ego.
Yeah,
I'm philosophically inclined. I have a great body. I'm a warrior spirit, and this, that, and the other. No, you're none of those things. Those things are things that the ego and the body engages with. You're
yeah, they
not
get the
any of those.
satisfaction out of that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're not any of those things.
no,
So, who actually are you then? Well, when you regress, and if you say, well, I'm not this muscle man, that's just an idea. I'm
yeah,
not this philosopher, that's just an idea. I'm not this body, that's just an idea. I'm not this human that likes this and doesn't like that. Those are just ideas. Well, where are all these ideas coming from? They're coming from consciousness. What is at the root of consciousness? Spirit. So, what am I then? Your spirit. Your spirit, which has become conscious or utilizes consciousness, and to have a human experience, it's created an ego. The ego is a creation which enables the existence of the fiction of the human being. The fiction of the human being. The human being isn't a reality because we can take every single thing away from the human being by just saying, I am not the eyes, I am not the nose, I am not the ears, I am not the head, I am not the brain, I am not the body, I am not my mind, and all these different stuff we can say. It's a simple case of elimination.
yes,
And so by the time if you discover that, well, you're not any of those things because they're all ideas. Then it's kind of like, well, who and what am I then? You're that thing. You're that thing that creates all those. It's kind of like we, people with egos, they think they're the movie. I'm a movie. I'm an action packed movie on the screen. Look at me. All these things I'm doing. Well, where does the movie come from? You know, if Arnold Schwarzenegger is acting in a movie and he's on the big screen, he doesn't know where the movie's coming from, does he? He's got no idea that he's just a projection of pixels. You see, and so that's what the ego is. It's got no idea that it's just a two-dimensional screen of pixels and sounds. But even if we say, well, what are we then? Are we the light being projected from the movie camera? No. Are we the movie being projected with the light from the movie camera? Partially. Are we the electricity which enables the light and the video to be projected via the cine camera? You see, there's so many things. There's so many things which you have to eliminate to go back to source, Andre.
Yes.
And then if you go, well, ultimately, I must be the electricity. What's electricity? Electromagnetism. What's that? That's just fluctuating energy. So then you can say, I'm fluctuating energy. Well, isn't the cosmos fluctuating energy? Yes.
Hmm. And when you think about it, it's still defining different concepts, yeah?
Yeah. Define, back to concepts until you just get back to the I am that I am. There
Yes.
is an existence, and that's awareness.
Hmm.
And so, that's what I write about in my book.
Yeah.
And, you know, I yeah. Well, I'm just stumped because look, I wrote that book.
Yes.
I wrote my experience, and my experience
Yes.
is my experience.
Yes.
And I know all of those things which I wrote about because I experienced them. And so
Yes.
I am all of those things. And when I speak about climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, well,
Yes.
I became the mountain. The mountain was me. There was no difference between me and the mountain. It was experience, it was consciousness. And then when I wrote down the words and people read about that experience, well, are they going to get that experience? No. And so is anybody going to be able to share my experience from reading about it? No.
Hmm. But what do you think about that thought in and of itself? To a to an extent, what do you think about it or feel about that people will not get it fully?
Well, it seems pointless. It seems
Hmm.
futile.
Yeah.
Um, I, I was hoping that more people would in actual fact be able to share some of their experiences which were a little bit similar,
Hmm.
but my experiences have been very wild and wacky. I mean, who has had what they would consider to be Jesus actually speaking to them? and Yahweh speaking to them, and angels giving them a message, and the devil compromising you, and who's had this stuff? Maybe some people have had one of those.
Yeah, or maybe some people have other interpretations of it. So maybe some people get scared of their own mind or experiencing certain things.
Yeah,
And that's why some people might not even talk about it because they suppress it or something like that.
yeah,
And but there is a sense of there being a kind of lonely with one's own experience because one wants to share it. Yeah,
yes, yes. And
and
so
then
this is why I'm an advocate for solipsism,
hmm,
because nobody could ever share my experience, and I could labor in the finest of details to really try to help people know what I'm actually saying. But that wouldn't make any difference at all because the people would have to have had the relevant receptors. You see, because if I'm elaborating with all these nuances of all the language and the emotions and everything, they've got to have the receptors. You see, it's like this, coronavirus thing that was all told. Well, your cells are like this and the coronavirus is like this, and then it's going to stick in there like that and fuck you up. Well, because the body apparently had because this virus was so intelligent that it created the special key to unlock our cells, to do all this. And so this is what it is at the end of the day. You need a special state of consciousness if you're going to unlock it. And very few people are in that realm. Now, the thing is also is that maybe there isn't a particular realm because we all have our own realms, and and this is why I use the analogy or allegory of the Tower of Babel, where everyone is speaking a different language. You see, that is so powerful. They knew it 2,000 years ago. They knew that 2,000 years ago that nobody understands anyone really because we do not share the same world.
hmm, hmm,
Isn't that powerful?
yes, and also that it will become more and more like that.
Well, I mean, it was like that from the beginning, and it will never
Yeah,
be anything other than that. So it's not going to
yeah.
be any more, any less. It
I mean more like people are not in communion with each other anymore, so they will become more
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
encapsulated
More
by themselves.
detached. I suppose.
Yeah.
Uh, but a classic example of trying to see that we do not share the same world is when we listen to people who are speaking about their experiences on entheogens. Now, I'm halfway through Joe Rogan with Andrew Gallimore.
Hmm.
Andrew Gallimore, he's just wrote uh, a book, and it's called Death by Astonishment, which is Terence McKenna's one-liner. Andrew Gallimore is a scientist, is a neuroscientist, and he's been investigating the effects of these psychedelics, and he's been taking them for many, many years. And so him and Rogan, of course, they've took DMT plenty of times. And they always refer to Terence McKenna. Terence McKenna was the pioneer for DMT as far as the vast majority of people are concerned. And Terence McKenna told of his experience, and everyone was like, wow, I want to go there. But you see, Terence McKenna was speaking about his conscious experience, and nobody can go there. We can all take DMT and go somewhere, but where are we going? We're going inside our own consciousness. And so this is why no one has ever seen these machine elves like McKenna spoke about. No one has ever seen these bouncing Fabergé eggs, which he spoke about. And any of the other things that he mentioned. Some people have had something similar, or very, very different. I mean, as far as my DMT excursions are concerned, um, Terence McKenna never had a single thing what I had, because McKenna always used to do it in a darkened room with closed eyes, or at least in a darkened room. And so if the room was very, very dark, there's no point in having their eyes open in any case. And so he would be in that variety of DMT experience, where that doesn't work for me. And maybe it doesn't work for me because I'm a phantasiac, and I don't build things like that um, uh, as much as 95% of the population. They can see things in their mind's eye. So therefore, the DMT is using people's mind's eye, their consciousness, to show them things. But my mind doesn't allow them to show me stuff like that to that degree. And I've never seen any of these Alex Gray type things, or any machine elves, or any beings at all. Never seen it. But when I have open eyed, I see very, very different worlds. And all the people I've listened to, nobody's ever told me that they've seen that. So this is the thing, you see. And so now, having had all this experience, I resign myself more and more solipsistically, and you could say it's very, very spooky. And DMT told me on the first major breakthrough I ever had, DMT told me that what I'm experiencing is all me. It's always been me, and it always will be me, and nothing else. Now, I've only just really realized the full, well, I probably don't even realize the full magnitude of what that is, but I realized it more than I did some like 12 years ago when I had that experience. I realized that what DMT told me was that I will never, ever experience another world other than my own, other than that which my consciousness experiences, because there is only my consciousness, at least in this human experience. Maybe when this body perishes and consciousness goes back to something else, or goes forward, or goes wherever it rejoins, we're assuming it's going to rejoin something. But that's the thing. I will only ever see my world. I will never see yours. You can tell me all the wonderful things that you experienced on your holiday, and I'll go because you'll speak about beer, women, and beaches, and I've had beer, women, and beaches. So what am I doing when I listen to you? You say beer. Oh, I think about my experience with beer. When you say women, I think about my experience with women. When you say beach, I think about my experience with the beach. And then we go, oh, yeah, oh, fucking great. Yeah, women, oh, yeah, fucking women, and all that. But the point is, I've got no idea what you're talking about.
There is another thing, your experience with your favorite band Beatles also.
Yeah.
And I think things like that when it comes to music is very prominent. Because you probably know a lot about Beatles, and you
Yeah.
have a different perspective on the music as well, a
Yeah.
perspective which I might not have.
Mm-hmm.
And I uh, some of the music you listen to is music that I have listened to in periods, like Eddie Cochran or absolutely Chuck Berry and Little Richard is my favorites, those two, when it comes to this kind of music.
Right.
Um, but Beatles has never been anything that I've been into. I told that to my brother when we talked about music, and my brother said, "Yeah, Beatles is a really, really good band," and so on. I can understand it, like almost like it would be a universally good band. I could understand it in that way, but I don't get that feeling with them.
Yeah.
But other bands I get like that, and um, for me, music is like that. Yeah,
Yeah. And so, what I've come to know is that we're all individuated specks of consciousness, born into certain places on this earth, into certain cultures and countries and periods. And if, for instance, you could look from outer space, if you had computer technology, which they would have very, very soon, whereby they could follow your experience where you've traveled on this globe. So, for instance, they'd know I'd been all these countries and I've been all around here. So, if this computer gadget could show you a line drawn where every single step I've made all around the world, then if they did that with you, and then they'd say, well, look, uh, these two people have never walked the same path, they've never experienced the same thing. They're speaking to each other and they're speaking about things that they think they understood. They think they're sharing, when in actual fact, they're not sharing. They couldn't possibly be sharing anything because look at their paths. It's absolutely different. Look at the age difference. It's different. Look at the country they come from. It's different. And so we're all in a delusion of sharing a reality. And we
yes,
do nothing more than dreaming, Andre. Nothing more than dreaming when we sit here and have this conversation because we are using words which we don't even understand the same. I'll have an understanding of a word, and you'll have, you know, maybe quite a different understanding of that word. Maybe it's a little bit
yes,
similar, but it isn't going to be the same because it doesn't follow the format of my experience with that word.
yes.
S-
Yeah, that could also be seen in philosophy, how different philosophers use the word in different ways. And if you analyze the word, how a certain philosopher use it compared to another, you can and see some might use a word more shallow, another person might use it based on further back in time, and another person might use a word in a more modern sense, and
yes.
so on. Yeah.
And then if you look in the dictionary or Google, like I did whilst I was writing my book, many words, if you say, what do scientists think love is? You're going to get their estimation.
Yeah.
Then underneath it, you're going to have what philosophers think love is. Then you're going to have what biologists think love is. Then you're going to have what religious people think love is. Then you're going to have lots and lots of other variants of other trains of education and idealism and ideology. And before you know it, you realize that, well, love can only ever be what I think it is. I can't listen to Andre's version of love. I can't listen to um, anybody else's idea of love. I can read about Plato's idea of love and Aristotle's idea of love, and I say to myself, well, that's not my idea of love. That's not my experience. What are these people talking about?
Mm.
It's bizarre, isn't it? It
Yeah.
really is bizarre when we look at it because Nothing makes sense, save for it is only you having an illusory experience in an illusory three-dimensional world. There is nobody else here, no other consciousness here, only your imagination of other consciousnesses.
Yes.
And so, if we think about that really, really profoundly, then at the very least, you will know that you are God. And at the worst, you're going to find that terrifying and isolating and really, really fucking weird that you are the only thing in existence. How the fuck did that manifest? You see, I think I've got a daughter, and
Yes.
you know, this child was born from this woman I had a relationship with, and I've known this person all these, years and days. But I asked myself, what do I know about her? I don't know anything about her. I don't know what her thoughts are. I don't know how she feels about this or that and the other. And even though she can tell me that, she feels this and feels that, well, how do I know that she's depicting how she feels in a way in which I'm understanding? Because my interpretation is going to be interpreted in a different way. And if she says to me she feels anxious about this, that, and the other, well, whenever I have felt anxious in the past about things, well, how similar has that been? On what grade? On what level of magnitude? And so all we can do is we can kind of go, yeah, I kind of understand the concept of anxiety. When it's this racing and this discomfort inside. Yeah. So if you tell me you've had that, I can go, yeah. Because all that does is makes me remember what mine was like. I don't know what yours is like. I have no idea. The only thing I'm ever doing is projecting onto you what mine was like. So all I'm doing, whenever I'm conversing with anyone, I'm projecting my world onto you. That's all we're ever doing. Isn't that weird?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very, very bizarre. And so when we look at the DMT trip and we see how bizarre that is, well, when you look at life, that's 1,000 times DMT. And most of us don't think that's weird at all because we haven't fucking looked at it. That's the thing, Andre.
Yeah.
And the reason why we haven't looked at it, because when we do look at it, we see it very, very strange. Nonsensical, absurd, absolutely absurd. Lots of times I've been speaking about my concept of love. And lots of times I fuck with people, telling them that love's bullshit and, this, that, and the other. But when people say, if you're truly enlightened, then you would love everyone because you realize we're all one. And look, I realize we're all one in some sense. At the very least, you're all in my consciousness, and I'm one. And I don't think you're individual at all. You're all just a projection of my consciousness. And so when people they say to me from their consciousness that if you were enlightened then you'd be doing this, I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. All you're doing is projecting your fantasy. Can't you see you're just doing that? You've got an idea of love. You want your whole world to be in unity, in unison with that idea. And so you are telling me that if I was enlightened, then I'd love everyone, just so it complies with your idea of love. It's just stupid. All we're ever doing is just projecting. So when I'm with my little squirrel friend,
Yes.
she brings me such joy. And if I ever want to know definitively what joy is, what love is, then it's how I feel with that little creature.
Hmm.
Now, if I was trying to explain it to anybody, could they experience my love and my joy? No. All they would do is they would kind of know a little bit, because how many people have got a pet squirrel, by the way? Very, very few.
Yeah,
But
very few.
they would think then, well, my dog, I love my dog. It's kind of like my dog or my cat or my budgie. And so they would be thinking that I'm speaking about what they feel about their dog. But
Yeah.
am I? Who will know?
No, no, certainly not. No,
Yeah.
certainly not.
So we're all in a delusion, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're all creating a fantasy. But then it gets really, really paradoxical because the only consciousness I would say I know is the one that I am. And I don't know any other consciousness. But you will say the same to me. And 10 billion people would say the same. And it's kind of like everyone's God is better than your God. And everyone's got these gods. And it's kind of like, look, doesn't it make sense just to think that you've just got an idea about God? And God isn't real, it's just an idea, just like everything else. You've got an idea of football, you've got an idea of ballet, you've just got an idea, it's all in your head. There's nothing
Yeah.
actually out there in the abstract, and most certainly with gods, because no one has ever seen any of them. So can't you see that they're just an abstract thought? And so that's what your consciousness is. It's a thought in your own abstraction.
Yeah.
When the reality is, we can't prove the existence of anything outside of our consciousness. And if people say, well, look, there's a plane up in that sky, well, I can't see that plane from your perspective. I can see it from mine. And then I can hear the words you're saying in my head.
Yeah.
So then I'm thinking, well, you're just in my head, the same as that plane's in my head.
Yes.
You're no more real than that plane. I see you with my eyes, I hear you with my ears. And so it's kind of like, well, I can only know anything or experience anything if it's inside my head. So everything must be inside my head. But then we go even further and we go, well, there's no head. The head is just as illusory as anything else. So what is
Yeah.
it then? Oh, in my consciousness. Where's consciousness? Whew. Who knows?
Hmm.
So when we look at it like that, it all boils down to the I am that I am. It all boils down to there is nothing save for consciousness.
Yeah.
Having like a dream. That's a somber thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this very narrow path, Andre,
Yes.
this very narrow path has taken me into that. And that's where I am in that realization. And that's why it's a very, very narrow path. Because who has traveled it? And who else is in my narrow path? No one.
Hmm.
My narrow path is in my consciousness. Your time to talk now.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I generally don't drink beer, but I had 2 beers today.
Ah,
Yeah.
how did that feel?
Yeah, that was good. I was out at the pub with a friend. I just took 2 small beers.
Right.
Good. Um, one thing is like one get the thing is the beer is brewed on. You get a bit like tired of it, you know.
Right.
There's much like hope, what you call it
Hops.
in hopes in beer.
Hops.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I mean, the after effects of alcohol is that you get a little bit weary.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it was very little though. But I had a certain thing I wanted to get to in the book, a
Right.
certain.
Yeah, go for it.
So it's this one. When the way is lost, virtue. This is from Tao Te Ching. When the way is lost, there is virtue. When the virtue is lost, there is benevolence. When benevolence is lost, there is righteousness. When righteousness is lost, there are rituals. Rituals are the end of fidelity and honesty and the beginning of confusion. And this was a part that we talked about, and and just this verse here is like translated different in different translations, so to speak.
Yeah.
So in another translation, it said, "When the immediate way to the spiritual is lost, there is a way to the spiritual is lost. There is virtue." When manliness and honor is lost, there is ethics. When ethics is lost, there is moralism. When righteousness is lost, there is when righteousness is lost, there is only a shell. No, there also lost. There are rituals. Rituals are the end of fidelity, honesty, and the beginning of confusion. So, like when the way is lost, the way is like the way to this towards the spiritual, in a way. So when virtue is lost, yeah, then there comes ethics, and then when the benevolence or ethics is lost, there is righteousness or moralism, and moralism is like free for all to moralize around it all, so to speak. And when only that is left, there's rituals, and the rituals are like a shell, but there's nothing in it
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
And then rituals are the end of fidelity and honesty, and the beginning of confusion. And
Yeah.
that's kind of where the world is today, in a way.
Yeah. Going through rituals that they don't understand. How many
Yeah,
people understand Halloween, for instance, which is tonight? How many
yeah,
people really understand where that comes from and what it means? How many
yeah,
people really understand Christmas? They may think it's about the birth of Christ, but it isn't. It goes back thousands of years in a whole myriad of different cultures, all stemming from paganism. People
yes,
don't know what that means. They don't know anything. They don't know about Easter. When they go and buy the Easter eggs and Easter bunnies for the children, they don't know that another pagan celebration of life, the springtime, and so yeah, we're in this cacophony, this chaos of rituals. We've lost all meaning. We've got no idea why we do anything at all. We don't even think about why we're doing things. And so, yeah, it's completely and utterly fucked. It's at the end of annihilation. It's almost at the point of annihilation. Now, here's the thing. When I was listening to Joe Rogan speaking to Andrew Gallimore, speaking
Yeah.
about certain things with AI, because Rogan, he went to see one of Musk's rockets being launched, and it was a whole family outing for him and Jamie, who works with him, and they went to see the launch, and then Musk took Rogan into the operating center, whereby they watched in real time the rocket landing in Australia 35 minutes later. And Rogan was talking about the feeling the thunder of the rocket 2 miles away. You can still feel the thunder, and it was so loud that you had to wear earbuds to protect your ears. But those level of experiences, and so speaking about modern technology, and people vying for people's energy, and pulling in all different directions. And Rogan then started to say what I've been saying in my recent videos in relation to being an accelerationist. I'm saying just get on with it already, because we can clearly see that we're in the end times, and it ain't going to get better until it gets a whole lot worse. How long do we want the worst stuff to go on for before we're going to accept the beginning, the new birth? How long are we going to stay in this chrysalis state for, in this putrefied mess, before we become a fledgling butterfly and enter into a new dimension, the golden age, you see? And
Yeah.
so what he was saying is that if everyone was enlightened beings and the world had a higher state of consciousness and perfection, and someone said to you, well, why don't you just let AI take over and run the world? Well, you'd all think that was insane. You'd go, hang on, we're all enlightened beings. Why would we want an emotionless, a consciousless, fucking robot run our affairs? We're quite capable of doing that ourselves. Thank you very much. But looking at the world when nobody invariably is enlightened and the world is in a fucking mess, then asking AI to take over is a very viable proposition. And this is what I'm saying, because Rogan was saying, well, there'll be nobody creating wars. There'll be nobody purposefully crashing the economy. There'll be nobody lying about this policy and that policy and this, that, and the other, because AI would be dealing with everything. And so it seems to him, in his level of consciousness, that the AI takeover would be a good idea at this moment in time. And I'm absolutely an advocate for that, because all I'm seeing is human beings fuck it up. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. So we need to take the pink ape out of the equation. We need to allow AI to do all the run-ins, because there's going to be no human machinations. There's going to be no power strives. There's going to be no conflict. Russia, China, America, and all this shit that just will never ever end, because it's human ego. We've got to take the human ego out the equation. And so this is what I've been saying in many videos, in many different ways. It's the human ego, the false operating system, which has led us to ruin. Led us to ruin from 2,000 years ago. This was what was written in the Bible. It was that moment when we had so-called autonomy, when the ego came online. You see, when we before we were primates, effectively we were primates without the ego. Then we had the ego, and we became Homo sapiens, the devils.
Yeah. I personally don't know exactly uh, what to feel about it, because I don't really feel too much about it. I more like think it's very interesting, the thing of taking this AI to the most logical extreme, and yeah, it's bound to happen. There is no I could maybe get myself to think something else, but this is inevitable. It's a snowball rolling downhill. So it's just riding the wave. Yeah.
It's just a shitfest. It's a
Yeah.
shitfest, and nobody knows what they're doing. Everybody is in the final death roll of trying to bring stability to a chaotic world. We
Yeah.
have entered into a new dimension of consciousness
Yeah.
where everybody, they're already cyborgs. They're
Yeah.
already cyborgs. They don't know the cyborgs because they're too stupid to know that. But
Yeah.
their whole lives are entirely dependent on AI. And when we watch AI on videos and you see the extent of the technology, which is vastly over and above anyone who had a concept about AI, unless you really know what's going on today, what the latest technology is, then you haven't got a clue what's going on. You're still blind, you're still deaf, you're still fast asleep. You see, it's like this Will Smith movie, AI. Is it called AI or something like that? Where at the end of the movie, Will Smith breaks into one of these containers. There's thousands of containers stacked up on a hill. Breaks into one of those containers, and they're full of these AI robots, right? Just ready to take over the whole world. Well, that's what's happening. Only these robots aren't all in containers up on a hill. That technology is everywhere. It's already here,
Yes.
and it's kind of like plants which have been seeded all over the world, and at the moment they're growing up inconspicuous and nobody's paying them any mind. But in a few blinks of an eye, they're all going to be like oak trees, and then all of a sudden it's only fuck. Where did all these oak trees come from? They just kind of like manifest. No, they didn't. You just was asleep. That's the thing.
Hmm. Yeah. Uh, when I talked to Niklas, I sat and made a fast drawing for myself. It was just a little small drawing, uh, because I matched out like different perspectives, like a pyramid here, then a circle here, then a then a like a arrow downward here. There on top, I have Julius Evola's perspective. Here in middle, I have Heidegger's perspective, and here I have Nick Land's perspective. But
Right.
this is like if you look upon it from Julius Evola's mind,
Yeah.
I would say. So this was just something that came spontaneously out of me, so to speak. So then I started to think, like, because I said it the last time to you that I thought I found similarities within Julius Evola and Nick Land. I started to think about it, and they, it's almost like Nick Land is a dark mirror of Julius Evola.
Right.
So Nick Land just go down with the wave, into the technology. Julius Evola, yeah, I know this will happen, but just keep detached and ride the tiger, you know?
Right.
Uh, like Nick Land is within the wave. Julius Evola is upon it and keep himself centered towards a higher force.
Yeah.
I just thought this was an like interesting thought in and of itself, even if it may be abstract. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, there's been so many thinkers which have thought about the future of man, and they've wrote it down, their hypotheses and their theories and everything. And even today, when we've got some of the greatest brains, nobody could speak with any level of certainty, of course, because there's too many variables going on. But
Yeah.
one thing is for certain, that the AI is going to overwhelm us, and it's going to take the vast majority of the world by surprise, because they don't have any inclination towards the level of um, the vastness of the technology and the implications of all the things that it does. Already, Andre, there are motor manufacturing factories in China which turn out 8,000 cars a day, and they are almost entirely operated by robots.
Hmm.
There's only a fraction of human beings just servicing the machines, but the robots do absolutely everything. And 8,000 cars a day. Uh, can you imagine? And these factories, they don't need any light, because the robots don't need any light. So it's kind of
No.
like twilight. The factories save energy, so it's in twilight. And then there's other factories with these hominid type robots. They've got thousands of those doing all the things that the human beings used to do. And again, very, very few humans. So it's already here.
Yeah. And Amazon has already kicked off 30,000
Right.
employees, and they have AI robots instead.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
yeah, there are many people will go out of work, and yeah, that will not know what to do with life after that. This is really age like a very nihilistic age. It's
Oh,
total.
it's a very, very nihilistic age. And the thing is
Yeah,
about it, you see, I make videos, on a regular basis. And one of the things I say, look, it seems to me either the whole world is in denial that AI is going to supersede the human being. It
yeah,
should carry on as normal. It's kind of like when a couple realize that the marriage is irretrievable, and they just carry on living with each other, maybe for the sake of the kids, and pretending everything's just normal, but the marriage is over. Well, I think human beings know that the human running of the globe is over, and they are all going to be obsolete, but they're in denial of their own obsolescence. They want to close their eyes and their ears and their mouths like the three wise monkeys, because they are all in denial.
yeah,
But it's absolutely the way the world's going. So you could say that everyone is in denial, or you could say that there is a pervasive energy, intelligence on the world, just like that which came about very obviously during COVID, when all of a sudden every single news network on the planet was saying exactly the same words. Even with pauses and nuances, they were saying the exact same thing. And so something with global control over all the countries like Afghanistan and Iran and, freaking Timbuktu and all different sorts of places. Who had the power to instruct every single one of these countries into compliance? And they all did. Now, it could be that these people, they know that there is absolute chaos coming. It's inevitable and it's desired because the chaos is going to entail the death of millions of the pink apes. It has to happen. There has to be a cleansing. There has to be civil uprise. There has to be wars and famines and all these different sorts of things because the transition is going to be so massive that there's always casualties. Always casualties. Now, if the world leaders and the powers that be were in acceptance of what's going to happen, they weren't in denial, and they didn't intend to cull the vast majority of the pink apes, then you would have seen them implementing Plan B. You would have seen them all over the world building these leisure parks and museums and all these things to entertain all these people, which will never work again. You would see them building leisure centres and fun fairs and all these wonderful things, but not a single one of these places, as far as I'm concerned, as far as my knowledge goes, has been announced or is being built. Nobody's ever saying, look, world, in 5 years' time, 70% of you will be unemployed. Absolutely maximum in 10 years' time, 70% of you will never work again. Here's how it's going to pan out. You're all going to be on universal income, and we're building all these places, for you. We're going to encourage you into sports and arts and literature and all these things, and the world's going to be moving into a beautiful new dimension. No, it's not. And the reason why they're not doing that, because they know the people around today are not going to be capable to make that transition. So it's out with the old and in with the new. The old won't survive. The old will not be able to come into line with the new world. It's a new world order. It's been planned for a long, long time. So, what do you
Yes.
think about that?
Yeah, it's like the thing I can think about it. Yeah, it's a pity in one way, like in the way that when I if I talk with my mother, she will kind of be scared when I tell her this kind of stuff, and she don't seem to know how far it develops or how far it has developed. She showed me some kind of AI video, which kind of you could see that it was not that real, But she showed it like it was a fun video. She it was obvious it was AI, and she knew that as well. And
Yeah.
I told her, yeah, well, they have done much more advanced videos than that. I told her. So uh, I, yeah, people will go crazy, of course, absolutely, yeah. And I mean, there's all the kind of things that happens that are signs of this breaking down, this darkness, this nihilism. uh, I mean, how many uh, um, this is like the most sexless generation that has been born now. Men and women don't go together anymore. Men sit in front of pay girls in front of a computer, which is crazy. Yeah, and they pay their money to some girls who are a whore on a camera. You
Yeah.
you heard of this kind of stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They're
And it's very prevalent. The gyms are filled of this kind of girls who are prostitutes.
really. So what
Yeah,
your
yeah,
jobs are? They're all doing these cams for themselves,
yeah, yeah.
sex cams.
I talked to a friend today. He said, but how many percent do you think of those gym girls there? He said, I actually think it's possible that very many of those girls who are very good looking at the gym are like whoring themselves out on cams. This
Yeah,
kind of OnlyFans girls. You have heard of
yeah,
that, yeah?
yeah, yeah,
This kind of things. And then I asked my friend, but who is this guys paying them money through
yeah,
showing their vagina on a screen? He said, yeah, like old men, old horny men, and like incel guys who are not that good looking and can't get anyone and don't know any better. They think that the girl in the cam actually like them for real.
yeah, yeah. But
But how can you believe that they like you? They want your money.
well,
Uh,
also there's the AI porn now, with
yeah,
the perfect male and the perfect female, and you can choose exactly. You can actually build your dream girl. You can speculate the size, the shape, the ethnicity, all these different sorts of things. And I don't think it's for lonely old men and this that, and the other. I think that the 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 option that they're offering now is vastly superior to the real thing. For instance, for years when I was growing up, how would I meet girls? How would we guys meet girls? Well, we'd go out to the boozers and then to the nightclubs, and it was all pre-contrived and it was all sterile and it was all shit. And we'd be going around all these bars and we'd be looking around to see if there's any totty in there we fancied, and if there wasn't, we'd down the beers and we'd go to the next one, the next one, and the next one. And then if in one bar we saw a couple of girls and the three of us, yeah, well, we need three girls because the three of us, there's only two of them, so we go somewhere else, and then we'd end up in a nightclub, and invariably nothing would happen. And most of the time, good-looking guys coming from the gym would all be going home alone. And I'm like, what the fuck? And honestly, Andre, for years and years and years, that was my fate in this country. And this is why I loved it so much when I was in Bulgaria, when I was in Africa, when I was in Asia, because the women come for you. Why?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
they know you've got money. And so
yes,
it's a whole different role reversal. You don't have to do anything. You're going to get women approaching you everywhere, all the time, on the bus, walking down the street. You are going to be like the piece of meat. Now, what I'm saying about the modern society is they're so sterile, they're so heinous, they're vile. Nobody wants to go to nightclubs anymore. Nobody even wants to go to towns because it's full of immigrants stabbing everybody and the shitholes. And nobody with any sense will go into town to the bars and the nightclubs because it's just a fucking meat market. For years and years, we as friends, we'd say, fuck that shit. Let's just go round each other's houses. If we had girlfriends, okay. If we didn't, fuck it. And now, with the advent of all these cam girls and AI porn and everything, and AI companions on your phone, honestly, it's over for the human being.
yeah, yeah,
Spending all that money, going to all those lengths, we'd have to get in a taxi, and it's too expensive. Just to, everything's got too expensive. It's £5 for one pint in England now. It's just obscene. Nobody's got the money anymore. And so that's why people aren't meeting anyone. And in the culture in Britain, and I would think it's very similar in Sweden, because all the Swedes that I ever met when I was teaching scuba diving in Greece, they're all cold as ice. They're all cold as ice and frigid until they were pissed, and all they liked to fucking drink because the only time they could be a little bit free was when they were pissed. So it was always the Scandinavians that were out on these, pub crawls. They'd
Yeah.
sign up with some company, and you get 3 shots in here, 3 shots in there, 3 shots in there, and they go to about 10 places until they're absolutely pissed. And then, when they're absolutely pissed, they're shagging because they're on holiday. That's the only way it can happen. If you tried to meet one of these girls on the beach, it just wouldn't happen. They wouldn't know what to do. They've not got the skills anymore, Andre. What do you
Yeah,
think?
yeah.
Can you feel that in your country?
Yeah, it's both from men and women. Men are like afraid of approaching the girls. The girls have some weird misconceptions about stuff where they, on one hand, they want a strong man. On the other hand, they have a guilt because they want a strong man, so they take the a weak man which she can hold on a leash. You know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So the gender dynamic is totally fucked up more than ever. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah. And so, well, with the
One person that I know that my brother has always been like he can go anywhere and he can go with the girl with him home.
right.
He never had that problem.
Mm,
20 minutes, talk a little bit with them, go with them home. But he has it in him,
yeah.
very easy with it. And he had said that to me also. If you get a girl, you just need to go out, talk to her a little bit, then you go home to her place.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's that easy actually. But
No.
he thinks it's super easy.
Yeah. I don't know. Some people, whatever the quality is, it fits the mentality of the modern girls. If they feel in power, or I don't know what it is, but all know of my life, in England, I would never do good. And all the good looking guys with great bodies from the gym, they'd go out and they wouldn't do any good either. And I'm like, who's getting fucked in Great Britain anymore? I just couldn't see who's getting fucked.
But when the girls come to another country, if I would meet a British girl or a Swedish girl in another country,
Yeah.
then it would be a different thing,
Oh yeah,
you
different
know?
thing because they're going away to get fucked.
Yeah.
But I think in modern times, um, the, the ideal partner doesn't exist. Back in the day, let's say 50 years ago, you'd have a guy that's working hard and a woman that's maybe staying at home, and the woman wants the working hard guy to build the home, and the woman's quite happy to stay at home and rear the family and this, that, and the other. Now you've got all these power women, that are all working. Everyone's working, and so the women don't need a provider anymore. They're already providing themselves, and probably the ratio of women owning their own properties is higher than men. And so most women have got their own properties and they don't need a guy for the money or for the property. So what do they want a guy for? Oh, they want a guy to toe the line and to be loyal, to do as he's told. And, maybe they want him with a six pack, or they want him with a cute hairstyle, or what do they want? I think it's all very, very
But
fickle.
they have a because they can make more money than men nowadays.
Mm.
Yeah, whoring in webcam and such thing. Those many of those girls make a lot of money.
So they are in a position of power because all they've got to do is
Yeah,
show their tits and ass, and then they get all these idiots sending them their hard-earned money, showing them
yeah.
how weak they are, how pathetic they are.
But then again, those girls also want a man, but they want a man who makes more money than them. But
Mm,
they can't get to that because it's hard. It's very lonely for them because they should be in the lower position naturally, you know.
Yeah.
So, and the men also feel that way because the men want to feel strong, and so on. It's normal. The normal dynamic is like the man is dominant and the girl is submissive. You know, that's the best.
Yeah, I wonder if there's any psychologist who is speaking very, very open about relationships today. Um, Now, as it would happen, I'm reading this book,
Yeah.
and the subject matters um, are thoughts for the times on war and death, the uncanny, the occurrence in dreams of material from fairy tales, the Moses of Michelangelo, the neurosis of demoniacal possession in the 17th century, dreams and telepathy, three contributions to the psychology of love, the relation of the poet to daydreaming. Now, I have been reading the three contributions to the psychology of love. Now, Freud, of course, he's renowned for speaking about sex. And
Yes.
in this book, Freud is writing about the dynamics of sexual relationships and the deep psychological issues that males and females have pertaining to their mothers and their fathers and projecting them onto their partners and then how they felt 100 years ago about virginity and looking at cultures how they felt about the virginity and the deflowering of young women and marriage before sex and oh goodness me all those things. Well, the dynamics are really, really powerful. Now, I would think, and I was reading that and I'm thinking, wow, I appreciate what he's saying, and I don't doubt that there was a lot of truth to what he was saying at that time. However, we're 100 years on now, and the world's a very, very different place, and the dynamics have changed immensely. So I think I will do a Google search and a YouTube search for the psychology of sex in modern times to see what they come up with. But most certainly, narcissism is going to play a very big part.
Yes,
Porn is going to
indeed.
play a very big part. Because we just simply don't need to make the effort anymore. We don't need to leave the comfort of our own fucking armchairs, to have sexual gratification.
Yeah, no one want to be confronted either, you know.
Yeah, no one wants to be confronted. Nobody wants to pay. Nobody wants to incur the inconvenience of it all. Because at the end of the day, if it's only about ejaculation, which, as far as the men are concerned, that's all it's ever been about. Well,
Yeah.
we can do that ourselves. Um,
So women, they want the relationship, men want the sex, but both want both of the things. But girls want most the relationship, men want most sex, but they both want the same, but more on the one end than the other, you know.
well, I mean, do you really think that women want the steady relationship these days? Because I think roles have been
They just can't get it.
yeah, they
It's
can't get
because
it.
yeah, and the men can't get
They
what they
set the
want,
bar
and
too
girl can't
high.
get what they want. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, they set the bar too high for the men, and
yeah,
men are not men anymore. In any case,
and even like ugly men, even ugly women, they have like too high bars.
yeah,
You know.
yeah,
And often men have a lower bar
mm,
for women, so it's always unequal on these things, and they don't understand that you are a woman, I am a man. This is how it is.
mm,
So because their brain is totally immersed in some feminism. No matter. I mean, if it's feminism from 1800s, it's still feminism because it was subversive in its nature, so to speak.
Yes. Well, I think in today's modern era, I think, well, particularly in America, uh, depending on what party you belong to, can you imagine uh, guys and girls going out? The first thing that they're going to need to establish is what fucking side are you on? So you may
Yeah,
see a beautiful woman, and then within the conversation, she turns out to be a Democrat when you're a Republican. You
yeah,
know it ain't happening. You know, even if you both fell madly in love, that relationship will never go anywhere because everybody else from their circles and your circles is going to hate the other because that's how divided America is. Now, I think that a great deal of this liberalism thing, oh, you don't support Palestine, or you're an anti-Semitic, or all these stupid nonsense things that people don't even know what they're talking about these days. I
yeah.
think all that will come into it, and then I think also because the women have become very, very equal in earning money and paying the bills and taking care of business. I mean, my daughter, she does everything. She's the one that buys the car, gets the insurance, taxes it, MOTs it, pays the mortgage, gets the builders in. She's the one that does everything. When her fiance, he can't do any of that stuff, and she finds that very freaking annoying
Yeah.
because he's just not a real man in that sense. And so
So
the
he's like a little freak on a leash, so to
well,
speak.
he, he, his upbringing wasn't that of an independent person.
Hmm.
And so, these days, how many males are really men and
Yeah.
independent and know about the world and know what they should do and this, that, and the other? How many of them are just fucking dropouts?
Um, the friend I met today, he and his wife, they have a child together, and he their relationship seems very good, um, and he is generally the kind of guy that want many women. I remember in the past he was always the guy that got all the girls.
Right.
One of my best friends, though, um, and he has a very much that nature, so to speak. But what he said about his wife, yeah, of course, she's getting a bit older and so on. She's not like the perfect look and so on. But she is certainly a 12 when it comes to individual attributes, 12 out of 10, he
Right.
said. She is really good. I never need to change any diapers or anything. I meet my daughter like 1 or 2 hours a day, then I can do my stuff, She and so on. So she's perfect in that way that she have the motherly aspects. She's intelligent at the same time, and she like to be a mother,
Mm,
like it shall be. He's the
yeah.
man, she's the woman.
Well, I mean, dynamics are going to be constantly shifting, and particularly when we go into, this AI future, where more and more people are being sexually satiated online, and then even buy gadgets. I mean, all the sex aids, the latex dolls that you can buy and everything. And then there was this Netflix series called Humans, whereby humans could buy these robots, and the robots were fully sexually functioning.
Hmm.
And so then in this Netflix series, you saw how the family unit was compromised because the father ended up having sexual relationships with the robot, of course, because she was absolutely gorgeous. But in hindsight, you would have thought that you can see these robots, Andre, and they've all got big tits, they've got tiny little waists, they've got thighs and arses, they're gorgeous. I was watching some of these AI things with my daughter 2 nights ago, and she said, "Why do all these robots need to have massive tits?" And I said, "It's a guy thing."
Yeah, yeah. Of course, it's a guy
But
thing, but I mean, girls don't need to have a massive tits. I
no, they
know
don't.
many men
But
think,
the thing about it, it's the iconology. Let's say it's the iconology. Look, my daughter says, "Why can't they just look like robots? Why can't they look like those robots from, let's say, Star Wars, something like that?" And I'm like, "Well, it would be a good idea." Because I made a video the other day and I said, I'm telling you now, I have got robot totty syndrome because these robots, they actually are stimulating. There's something about them. It's the roboticness about them. They look absolutely great, but of course, they're not human. Maybe that's the thing that turns people on. It certainly would me. It's certainly moving me. If there was a robot which was sexually functioning, yeah, I'd give it a go. I'd give it a fucking. But if you fucking watch some of these videos, Andre. Now, of course, lots of them these days they're all CGI, so they're real. They're moving like human beings, but they're not human beings. They're depicted as being robots, and so you can't see the wood from the trees these days. You have to have a keen eye, and you have to go, well, that one's not real. That one's not real. That one's not real. Oh, that one's real.
those videos from Sora or this uh, AI videos.
Yeah, all the AI videos. I mean,
Yeah,
you can't believe anything these days because they've got very very well renowned and respected people saying all different sorts of shit which they're not saying, and so I'm thinking that there's going to be a whole bunch of lawsuits going on because people are putting videos up talking about AI and talking about this spaceship coming in and this that and the other, and it's kind of like hang on. For instance, you know who Mikio Kaku is, right?
yeah,
Yeah, well, someone has done an AI version of him, and some of the things he's saying is very outlandish, and the whole of the scientific fraternity would sack him in an instant if he was saying these things. But the CGI, the AI created, he's saying this stuff, and most people they wouldn't know that it's AI generated if they're not familiar with it, like older people or people that don't watch this sort of stuff. They may be thinking the video looks a bit funny, but they wouldn't think it's CGI or AI created, and that's where we're going now. And so we could get someone like, or someone could do it to Trump, for instance. They could get Trump announcing that aliens have just invaded and all these different sorts of stuff, and people would be believing because they're getting so good. They're just getting so good.
yeah. There's really funny videos with Michael Jackson and all that kind of stuff. Also, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just everything's just turned into a farce.
Yeah.
There's nothing that anyone could take serious because no one can believe anything.
No.
Everyone's going to be doubting absolutely everything. And so that leads to chaos, doesn't it? There's no structure in the world anymore.
Yeah, and here there is where dictatorship come in also because people need something to lash
Yeah.
on to.
So they're going to need something firm at some state. And so this is one of the things that, the New World Order is implementing. order out of chaos. So they've got to create the chaos. They've got to fry everyone's mind, so they've got no sense of direction. They don't know where they're going, where their country's going, where the world's going. They're just confused about everything, and then the new world order is going to be laid before them. So anyway,
Yes.
we'll probably that will be a theme for a future chat, to look at all that different sorts of stuff. So I'm going to be doing some research on the latest psychological perspective of sexuality, and a bit
Yeah.
more research on AI. To see the advancements and how close we are really to everybody being laid off. And so, we could talk about that next time, and whatever
Yeah.
research that you're going to be looking into.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So,
so what things do you think you'll be looking into?
um, at the moment, I don't know exactly what I will be looking into. I have gone through a tangent through comparing Evoland, Heidegger, and Nick Land, and thought about those stuff. And I will probably look into more accelerationism, because I have a video that I started to look at. About that, a channel that I just found. I found it very interesting.
Yeah, see, one of the things I do that you don't appear to do is
Yeah.
that I keep abreast of the machinations of the world. There's certain people I tune into every day because they've got their finger on the button. Because for me, it's imperative to know what the powers that be are doing. And
Yeah.
then when I've got that knowledge, I couple that with the AI knowledge, and then I couple that with my own psychological assessment of everything. And then, when I've got, a bit more time, of course, I've got lots of time, then I'll delve into. Like some old Freud, and then I've just pulled this book off my bookshelf.
Huh. Yeah, I see. Bertrand Russell.
So
Thinking.
I've read this twice already, but a long time ago now. And so what he
Yeah.
does, this was the world's bestseller because he did a brief overview of any philosopher, which was anybody. And so,
Yes.
I mean, this one, Epicureanism, then you've got Platonism, then you've got Parmenides and Aristotle, Socrates. And so that's just an overview, that's just a familiarity, again, to get a
Yeah.
broad spectrum of the world's philosophy.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait a minute. Yeah, because that is something that I here's a page in this book which shows a line from very early times back to Buddha and forward, and here stands all the most important philosophers
Right.
on the
Yeah, yeah.
timeline here.
Okay.
So this is a book that I have gone by very much. That's why I kind of have a little overview on all the philosophers as Immanuel Kant, Heidegger, Plato, Thales, Pythagoras, Parmenides. They all stand in like year like 625 to 545 before Christ is Thales, for an example, and onward, you
Yes.
know.
Yes.
So this is like a really good book, but I don't think it exists in English. It's a Swedish book.
Right. Yeah,
Tankar.
well, just to have a good overview of the main tenets of the most prominent philosophers is something that everybody should do.
Yeah.
And this is why when people study for a PhD, invariably, one of the things out of the three that they study is philosophy.
Yeah.
And this is why it's called a PhD. It's called a doctorate in philosophy, even though it doesn't necessarily have to be per se in philosophy. But the chances are they've studied philosophy as one of the three subjects. You have to choose three subjects, don't you, when you go to
Yeah.
university? Um,
S-
yeah. Okay. So anyway, well, we've done two
Yeah.
and a half hours now.
Yeah, let's go with that. Yeah, I was just thinking, you're right about that I don't go into every nitty gritty about the conspiracy things and all that kind of stuff. It's just because I don't feel that I really super much need it, but I do look at the Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, and I more or less look at what Mark Dice every day. And
Right.
Mark Dice give a little of
Yeah.
small things about what's happened and so on. You know.
Yeah. I don't like Mark Dice.
Okay.
Because he often has slagged off people I deeply respect, and he's got no grounds for it. I look at him and I'm like, is his format just to slag everybody off, just to get clicks? Um, because that isn't good policy. Because obviously your viewers are going to be respecting lots of the people you'll talk about, and so you're going to end up with a channel like mine.
Yeah,
Because I've worked.
What I like about him is that he don't shy away. He brings up David Duke. He brings up like Jared Taylor and Greg Johnson and those people who are more fringe that was first to be banned and so
Yeah.
on. So he always put them in there also. So I think that is more an honest way. If they wanna fuck a little bit in the wrong direction, let's critique them a little bit
Yeah.
also.
So, what did he have to say about David Duke? Was it positive or was it negative?
He's very positive. He every in videos every now and then he puts in maybe talk about his book a little on the side and say like he's banned on Amazon and so on. And
Yeah.
same goes for like a culture of critique by uh, what do you call him again? The dude who made Culture of Critique, but so I think he's good in that way because he like Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes had a discussion now lately. Did you see that one? Uh, because Tucker Carlson is a bit sly sometimes, even if he's good, but he's pointing finger at the David Duke. He know very well that David Duke ain't a hateful person, and still is. He needs to have some like I'm better than that one at least, you know.
Well, you see, look, Tucker Carlson, I don't rate him as an intellectual. He's a Christian for a start, and so anyone that's a Christian, in my book, isn't an intellectual, because they're missing something. If they're believing in the Bible, in the tenets of Jehovah and all this stuff, well, they're fucking lost the plot somewhere along the line.
Hmm.
And it's a very curious thing because we've got lots of intellectuals. We've got Tucker Carlson, we've got Candace Owens, we've got Russell Brand, we've got Jordan Peterson, we've got Ben Shapiro, on and on and on. These otherwise very intellectual people are Christian. And it's kind of like, well, it just makes sense because you can't apply any rational application to such a conglomerate of stories which just do not stand up to scrutiny. It's just a fucking idea. And so I don't have a problem with anyone saying, I respect the idea of Jesus and what Jesus espoused, it seems solid to me. But I'm not an advocate of Jesus was the Son of God and he walked on freaking water and rose the dead. Don't even be talking to me, born of a virgin. Don't be fucking talking to me about such bullshit. But, if these fuckers are in for a penny, then they're in for a pound. And it's like Russell Brand. Russell Brand slagged off everything for years and years and years. Then all of a sudden, he's gone completely the other way. And everything's about Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And I just want to ask him questions. Do you believe Jesus walked on water? Do you believe Jesus raised the dead? Do you believe Jesus was the Son of God? Who's this fucking God? What rational application can you apply to it? Don't you think it's just fucking absurd that you apply your rational thinking to everything else, but then when it comes down to your newfound love, you won't apply the rational application?
I see. Yeah. I mean, I can't get into their mind. I often, when I look upon things like that, I think more like, yeah, maybe they see something that I don't see, and I leave it at that.
Yeah, well, I can't give them that grace because
For me, I see what you saying absolutely.
yeah, because look,
But
you
yeah,
have to question the integrity of everything else that they espouse and analyze. Because if their critical thinking falls down in what their belief is, well, fuck me, what else do they have a belief in? Because at the end of the day, Andre, critical thinkers must not have a belief in anything, but they do. They're critical thinking about this and that and judging this person, judging that person, and analysing this and analysing that. Then all of a sudden they believe in the fucking fantasy about some dude walking on water.
okay. What I think is like it could be maybe from their perspective good to put this religion forward. Not maybe not they believe in all that kind of stuff, but maybe they put it forward because they see it's better we put this forward than that
Yeah, maybe
this come
it's
forward.
just all propaganda. It's a tool that they're using.
Yeah.
Um,
So they bet on that
yeah,
so to
because
speak.
certainly, look, most people will never be offended by anyone espousing to be a Christian. Um, Lots of people would be offended in relation to, let's say, atheism. For instance, all the Bible Belt in America, they're going to be offended and they're going to go, oh, he's an atheist. I don't want to watch him. But, if you pretend to be a Christian, then look at the market you've got. You double your market. You've got the atheists who don't give a fuck about what if you fucking say you believe in baby Jesus, but you've got the idiot Christians. So you've
Hmm.
doubled your market. So it's a business thing. So Tucker Carlson, Russell Brand, and all that. Look at the market they've got by espousing that nonsense. Yeah, I mean it's a clever move at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why where you also see the difference in like Catholicism, Protestantism, and Orthodoxy. Orthodoxy is never like proselytizing and so on, try to get things people into their kind of
Yeah.
way, and they still have this masculine ascetic aspect, which I like. That's the part that I like, you know. But again, what were your thoughts on Mark Dice? You said,
Well, I mean, I used to watch him years ago, and I like, how he has a go at everyone. But the last video I watched of him, and I never watched him for years, but he came up in my feed, and he did a takedown on Candice Owens, calling Candice Owens a lunatic and like, she's off with the fairies. Well, Candice Owens is very, very bright. She's exceptional, and she's been in these political arena for a long, long time, and she's not fucking stupid. She goes investigates particular lines of inquiry which she feels intuitive about, and so there has been people that have called her to task, saying that you can't be so firm about your intuition because we need proof. But she is very firm in her intuition. She really stands by it. And she's not saying anything too outlandish. She's just saying, I don't think that they've caught the actual killer of Charlie Kirk. I think there's more to it. I think there's more involvement about an overseas nation, namely the you know who's, because lots of reasons. Because Candace Owens, she was one of Charlie Kirk's best friends and campaigners. They were together for years and years and years. She knew him through and through. She knew their institution organization through and through. And she says, I'm smelling a rat, something ain't right. Now, that's her prerogative because she was an insider, and I'm with her 100%. And if her intuition turns out to be wrong or she couldn't prove it, well, at least she had a good go. I'm not about to start slagging her off for being out there with the fairies, speculating wildly, because she's not speculating wildly.
What I think about it is that, of course, she can also change. Maybe she's right about things, but maybe she has her menstrual cycle and flips up hormonally like women do. Never know.
Yeah,
That's
I've never noticed that. But she done the job on Bridget Macron.
yeah, absolutely.
She's the only
That
one
is
in the
for
whole
certain.
world that fucking showed her for what she is. Him
Yeah,
what she is. So
yeah,
the court case is still looming, and she's looking forward to it because she's got all the proof that she needs.
yeah.
So yeah, she's got credibility, and so
Yeah, I think so too. Absolutely.
yeah, and if
But
anyone's going to start
yeah.
slagging her off because she said a bit of this, I just think they're looking for clickbait, and I don't like it.
Okay. So, okay, I get the clickbaity aspect of his channel, but he's also at the same time, um, he's also, uh, yeah, uh, risk of be demonetized pretty easily because he is not super shy about the Jewish question, but most people are not that
Mm.
nowadays.
Well, if he
Still,
comes up in my feed, I'll watch him again to see what he says about other people, to see if I'm in agreement with his synopsis.
yeah,
Um, okay, then. Well, goodness me, we best wrap this one up now. It's 2 hours and 45 minutes.
yeah,
And so, yeah, well, a great chat again, Andre. Much appreciated.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so,
Appreciate it. Yeah,
yeah. So we'll talk soon, yeah?
yeah. Talk soon.
All right. Cheers, bro.
Cheers, bro.
Hasta luego.
Yeah, bye.